Hi, Karen here from Karen Gracie Equine Success and Off the Track Thoroughbred Success. So today's video is a chat. Here I am with my coffee, my laptop, and I might turn, it's cold here, but I've got the heating on. I might turn it off because of cold, but a little bit warm. So I wanted to just chat. This will be a YouTube video, but it'll go on other social media platforms as well. I wanted to talk about what's been happening with me and my horses lately. If you've been following my previous videos, particularly I think the last one, I shared some horrible symptoms that I've been having with my horses affecting their health. And it's been really horrible and really distressing. I have 19 horses. 17 of those horses are off the track thoroughbreds. I've worked in racing for 17 and a half years, nearly 18 years, and I retired from racing. I rode track work every day for those nearly 18 years. I retired about a year and a half ago due to injuries. So my sole income, I'm studying the Diploma of Equitation Science. My sole income has been study and building my online courses and online learning, supporting everybody out there with off the track thoroughbreds. I'm very passionate about the welfare of thoroughbred racehorses in and out of racing. So the last sort of 2-3 years have been focusing on the online presence and building online courses, which has been a huge learning curve, retiring from track work. And my goal was and still is to retrain some of my horses I've had for quite a long while and have retrained and competed and everything, and others have been off the track and quite a few of them needed to spell from tendon injuries and things like that. So my goal, now that I no longer retrain and sell horses, I did rehome horses. I haven't rehomed a lot. I've probably rehomed about 15 over the years. I find it really stressful. I get very worried about where they go to. And yeah, I put a lot of work into my horses. I don't like to rush them in their retraining process. So I just found it wasn't very enjoyable for me. And I just have found a couple horses that I did sell in some dodgy situations, and it scared me. But luckily both these three horses actually, they're all safe, but it was very stressful. One I found in the doggers, in the sales yard, and she was bought by the doggers. We saved her. Another one was ended up going to what seemed like a lovely woman, but she wasn't so nice. But I got her out of there as well, so she's in a beautiful home now. And other one, I actually got him back. Yeah, Dragon. So, but that's, yeah. So what I do now is I have my beautiful herd, my team of 19 horses. So 17 off the track thoroughbreds, Nellie, my riding pony, and Toothless, the solid colour black paint horse who was rescued from slaughter. Toothless found himself in Shep Meats heading up to Merrima's to be slaughtered, along with 2 other off the track thoroughbreds that I have. So I have 6 in my herd that have been actually rescued from slaughter. But my goal, because I want to keep them safe, and I just, I don't enjoy selling, and was to, obviously having 19 horses is very expensive. I don't own my own place at the moment, transitioning from the racing industry to an online business, and I take what I was taking in horses to retrain. So I do clients' horses to retrain, but I've had some issues where I am due to what I will be talking about, which is a lot of health issues with my horses. So no longer taking in those. I do teach lessons, go out and teach lessons and that. But it's very expensive to take care and manage 19 horses. So my goal was to actually, and still is, to retrain the ones, well, wherever each horse is at, retrain, film and video their retraining process or their training process, wherever they're at, from start to finish. Now, I have a range of different horses. Some of them have some issues, some are quiet, some are very hot and that. And I wanted to share it with, so I want to, and still will be doing this, share it with you. So instead of, I want to show you the whole retraining process with different horses. So sort of raw footage, not, you know, each horse will have some different quirks. So you know how to work through problems. So that is my goal, is to be able to get out there and support off the track thoroughbreds in their retraining process and support everybody out there that takes on these beautiful horses. And I just love them so much. I've spent, you know, nearly 2 decades working with them within the racing industry. So I have a really intimate understanding of the off-the-track thoroughbred and the thoroughbred racehorse. So I feel like that I have a unique situation because I understand what they've been through within racing, and then can help you guys understand them when they come out of racing. And so my goal has been to retrain, video and film their retraining process, share all my training videos with you, and have portfolios of each horse, which I still will be doing, and I have started. But I wanted to share this video because, oh my God, since retiring from the racing industry and, you know, having those goals in mind, and being COVID hit, so developing my online and technical skills, I built an online course and a platform, and I've got my second online course in the process of building. So that was a challenge for me because I'm a horsey girl. Like 6 years ago, I didn't know how to turn my laptop on. I've got my Mac here. I love my Mac. So I updated my Mac. I did courses on how to build online courses when I was recovering from my last injury, because that was a nasty injury. I had a barrier accident and snapped my collarbone in half and shoulder injuries. And so that was sort of the end of my track work career. I'm 54, so, you know, I want to, you know, I don't want to die just yet. Your body can only take on so much, can't it? And so I've got a little splinter on my finger. And so I'm just thinking, as I said, this is just an, you know, talking, no scripted video here. What was I saying? Yes, so have spent, you know, developing my online skills because COVID, everything went online. So learning how to do Zoom and all of that has been really challenging. My YouTube channel here, this will be on YouTube. Facebook pages, Facebook group. So I've got a great Facebook group with nearly 1,500 members in it. And so this is where I just really want to support you guys. I really want to be able to be there, reach out to me with any problems that you're having with your off-the-track thoroughbred. If I can't answer them, well, then I do a heap of research. I'm learning, I'm doing the Diploma of Equitation Science. I spent a year down at the Australian Equine Behaviour Centre way before I even worked in racing with Andrew McLean and Manuela McLean and Warwick McLean, all down there in 2008 when he wrote his first book, The Truth About Horses. Here, my beautiful Toby's in this book. Actually, one of my horses is actually in this book. I'll show you. I'll get sad because he's passed away now, but I had him for a long while. There's my Tobe. You can see him chopping and chewing all over this video. Toby. Toby's demonstrating clicker training. So I love equitation science. I've been practicing it for a long while, but it has grown over the years, and so I'm growing with it and doing the diploma. Where's my Toby? Let's just see if we can find Tobes. Here he is. My beautiful Toby I got as a 4-year-old. He was quite abused when I got him. There's Toby. So that actual chestnut in The Truth About Horses is my beautiful horse Toby, demonstrating clicker training. So we were down at the Australian Equine Behaviour Centre for a year. I took both my horses down there. Toby was a thoroughbred cross stock horse, 17-hand beautiful chestnut, and Moto was my off-the-track thoroughbred. So I got Moto in the year 2000. He was my first off-the-track thoroughbred, and then I got Toby about a year later because Moto fractured his splint bone, and I was down in Sydney then, and then went down to Victoria and was down there training as a, I went down with paid lessons with my partner at the time, and then became a student down there for the year. at the Australian Equine Behaviour Centre, so absolutely loved it, learnt so much. So my beautiful Toby, had Toby, been through, so Toby is interesting because Toby got severe laminitis, and I'll talk about that. Toby, I nearly lost him in 2014. He got severe laminitis in all 4 feet, pedal bone rotation, and also had to have surgery because he had dead bone on his pedal bone as well. Now, Toby was my first experience with pasture-related problems. Now, I, having a racing background and show jumping and dressage, so before I did racing, I've been in the equestrian and teaching and riding schools, but I just really hadn't had any experience with, I'll leave you there, Toby might leave Toby there, hey, if it stays open. I hadn't had any experience with laminitis, particularly being in racing. They're on, you're working with race horses, and then they go out for a spell, and I ran my own racehorse spelling business for 4 years, and just never really, I knew about it, but I didn't have an experience, I didn't have an understanding. So both Toby and Moto were on grain diets, but Toby was my first experience with pasture-related problems, and that was laminitis. And Moto ended up getting Cushing's disease, which was my off-the-track thoroughbred. Now, he ended up passing away in 2016. His liver failed, and that was horrific. And so I look back now with everything that I've learnt, and can see I've still got videos of Toby when he was laminitic, and I can see muscle tremors and everything. Now, that was back in 2014. 15, 16 that I lost Moto and Toby to metabolic, your insulin resistance, your equine metabolic syndrome diseases. But I was just very naive. I didn't really understand much about it. And, the vets don't really, the vets are wonderful. My vet was amazing. But looking back now at symptoms Toby showed over the years, including very swollen sheath, rain scald, like just bits and pieces of sort of pussy rain scald, even though they're always rugged. It was liver, you could see there was some type of toxicity in his system. And yeah, I'm just looking back now and seeing symptoms, so many early signs of issues going on. But where am I going with this video? So basically what I want to say is, so my last 3 years that were planning to be building my online presence and having all these wonderful training videos out there, and I've got one online course out there, but my second online course, and that has, and riding, I haven't ridden for ages. I'm just wanting to ride because I'm retired from track work, and my horses and I have been through hell, I'm going to tell you that. The last 2.5, well, going on probably 3 years now, when I moved out to this particular property, I started having health issues with my horses. One of the first signs was when I brought them out here. Now, as I said, having 19 horses, well, I had 1, 2, 3, so I had 16 horses when I moved out here. So Mac and Marlin and Billy all arrived out here. They're all 3 off the track thoroughbreds. So I rode Mac and Marlin track work, my babies, and so I took them on when they retired from racing. They were Queen Bian horses, and so they're with me here. And Billy was one that was being flogged on Facebook and was going to be slaughtered. And I actually took him on and found out that he came from a trainer that I worked for, knew it at the race course. So Billy's with me here. So there's 19 of us, 19 horses, and me and my 6 baby dogs. Had Minnie, but Minnie's gone to heaven, doggy heaven, recently. She had dementia, God bless her little heart. You'll see her in some of my Q&As, my little Minnie Mouse. But the last 2 years or more have been plagued with health issues with my horses since I moved out here. Now, I seriously, Toby and Moto, Cushing's and laminitis, and I think we all know, have heard of those. But when my horses came out here, they were in a picture of health. And then they started within the first month, even though they had big mineral blocks and salt blocks and all of that. They were out for a few weeks before I started had to build build yards and things before, you know, I resettled and started bringing them into the yards of a daytime as I do. And they started doing weird things like eating mouthfuls of dirt, even though they had their big mineral blocks out in the paddock and salt. And I thought, well, that's weird. I've never seen a horse. I mean, you see them sort of licking dirt, but they were taking mouthfuls of dirt. This was them in sort of like probably 4 or 6 weeks. And I just thought that was obviously a sign of some deficiency. Then I also noticed that, no, this is probably 2021. So what are we now? 2023. We're in July 2023. So you can see way back at the beginning, probably 2021, somewhere like that, I started having issues. And then they started eating, you know, trees that have gone down, the big wood trees that have gone, big wood trees, of course they're wood, bark. And they started getting around the trees and eating the bark and eating, you know how sort of ants will get in and eat sort of the bark, and then the bark sort of crumbles on the ground. They were eating all of that. And just really strange behaviour. They sort of started looking a little bit, I suppose, doughy. But the two significant things that stood out to me was this, you know, massive amount of consuming dirt and bark, and obviously worrying about sand colic and things like that. So that's when I started reaching out to equine nutritionists, and I thought, there's something, I've never experienced this before, and I've had my horses out on pasture for years and years and years. Well, all the time, except when I was in Sydney way back in the early 2000s when we didn't have pasture, because I was in the Centennial Park Equestrian Centre, 24-hour stabling. But other than that, I've always had my horses out on pasture, and I've never experienced anything like this. It's my laptop beeping there. So I started reaching out to equine nutritionists, and being the researcher that I am, I'm just going to turn my laptop thing that popped up there, really started researching. I'm very much someone to, you know, look in depth at things and try and work out what's happening. And I reached out to some really good nutritionists. Carol Layton, I spoke to her. Well, the first nutritionist that helped me was Belinda from Belinda's Amazing Minerals. So she was wonderful, and Carol was as well. Carol suggested pasture tests, but I was so desperate at the time to do something for my horses. I just wanted to get them on something. I thought pasture testing is, well, you know, once again, I was very green and naive to all of this, so I thought I just want my horses to not be eating through fences and dirt and everything, so I really wanted to get them on something. So I got them on, so Belinda from Belinda's Amazing Minerals, Belinda's Natural Therapies, I think it is, down in Tasmania. She was wonderful, and I got my horses on Belinda's supplement, Belinda's Loose Lick mineral supplement, and also the BAM, which has the Elitox, so toxin binders and gut things in it, and it helped. It definitely helped. So the horses were, I mean, you have to remember too, I've got you know, 19 horses, so I was going through a ton of it, like 20 kilos a week, and it definitely improved, but they were still showing symptoms. So they stopped eating the dirt and they stopped eating the sand, the wood, like they were eating the bark and they were eating through the wood fencing and that. But they were coming in with rain score, like your rain scorely stuff and the pus underneath. They were coming in with hives. They were coming in, because what I do is they go out of a sort of afternoon, evening, and I bring them in over daytime, and I've made up all individual yards for them. So they come in, have their yards, and normally, you know, be working. I had 2 clients' horses here at the time, 1 client's horse here at the time, and then another client's horse came because I was retraining them. And but they all come into their individual yards and get their hay and their feeds, and I do their, you know, whatever. Each horse has their routine and where they're up to in their retraining or their spelling or whatever. So that's normally my routine. So at this time, it's probably going to be a long video, guys, because I'm sort of giving you a bit of a timeline here. Geez, I've got a blister on my finger. At the time, they were coming in and looking either really hyper reactive, like just going from standstill to just flying around the paddock, to being really doughy, like standing there like they're drunk or drugged out or something. They'd come in with hives sometimes, and they'd get that rain schooled. I mean, just an array of symptoms. And speaking to Belinda, and Belinda was been amazing, and we thought, well, it sounds like pasture toxin related. Belinda also recommended me getting the boil water tested, which I did, and that came back as okay, because we were thinking high iron. So I had the boil water tested. You have to remember, this is way back in sort of like 2021, probably, I don't know, might be blending into 2022, but 2021, it sort of started, and it's been ongoing, beginning of 2021. And so I had the boil water tested, because they're on dam water and bore water. There's a little creek that runs through here that floods up during the floods. But bore water was fine, so that was really good. So we're thinking pasture toxins, mycotoxins in the pasture. So I bought the Elitox, and the Elitox is already in the BAM. I bought the Elitox and got them onto the Elitox, which is a great toxin binder. But you have to remember, I mean, depending on what toxins you have, isn't it? So I was still struggling with symptoms. Now, the Elitox sort of did help, but I was still getting these weird symptoms. So I had to up the Elitox, and it was just getting financially just way too much. So that sort of went on, and I did see an improvement, but still struggling with symptoms. Then what happened is one of my clients' horses came here, and he started head shaking. And I thought, I vaguely remember, so Tommy, now God bless Tommy, he's still with me, but back when Moto and Toby went through those problems, the same time Tommy was doing some head flicking, only in the springtime. And I hadn't even heard of head shaking back then, but I thought he must have an allergy or is really sensitive, because it would only start in the springtime. Now, I hadn't heard of head flicking or head shaking, and he would, come summer, he'd get out of it. But this client's horse started head flicking. And I've got videos of him back there, and I thought that's then I started Googling and looking at head flicking, and I thought it must be mycotoxin, and I mentioned it to Belinda, and we were just all focusing on mycotoxins. Then my horses started losing weight. This is around the same time now. Constanza, you'll remember this because you were coming out and helping me at the time. If you watch this video, remember when my horses started losing weight? So, and I couldn't work. I mean, they're on a heap of feed, but they just started losing a bit of weight. And this client's horse was head flicking quite badly. And so I ended up, the client's horse, I couldn't continue to retrain him. So I asked for the client's horse to go back home, because I thought there's something not right here with my pasture. Well, I was thinking mycotoxins and pastures, and it's bad enough with my own horses. I didn't want clients' horses suffering. And that horse went home, and then my horses started losing weight, and that was concerning. Then I think we went through a stage like I was just pumping heaps and heaps of feed into them. So then another client's horse came to me he was with me for about 8 months, and I've got a heap of videos on him. Beautiful Thai. Now, I had them in the yards a lot of the time through this, and it was winter, but I was still having some strange symptoms. But all in all, everything sort of went okay. I did have them off the pasture as much as possible. Having a client, having clients' horses in, and I was also teaching as well, was helping me financially. Sort of, I was just buying a heap of lucerne hay, and lots of feed and lots of supplements and everything. But it did really burn a hole in my pocket. The client's horse went, and once again, that's a financial dip in my income. But that all, you know, I do vaguely remember having him on a calcium supplement, but he went really well. He looked really good. My horses sort of picked up a bit once through winter, and just having them on a lot of lucerne hay, lots and lots of lupins and fats and all of that. But once again, you know, bizarre, like my horses would come in with an array of all different symptoms, and different horses at different times. I remember one horse coming in and they'd be really zonked out, like really sedated type of looking. Then I noticed, so it's just my horses now. I haven't taken on any clients' horses since, this was back in 2021, I think, or 2022, because you don't want, you know, clients' horses if you all been so concerning. Then I noticed this started coming on, that they would come in. Now this is, I have to go back through the whole timeline. I've got so many videos, but I noticed that they started coming in with these bizarre lumps on their head, like bony lumps, just lumps. I was like, oh my God, what? Just, it seemed like they were appearing overnight. Literally, it seemed like lumps were appearing overnight on their faces. And I was horrified. Now, throughout this whole time as well, I think it was around the time the lumps were coming in, but Tommy, poor Tommy, would come in and he would stand there over his water bowl, just like completely zonked out, like he was drugged out, and like excessive thirst. Now, there was on and off times where I locked horses up, and Tommy was in for ages and packed in the toxin binders and everything. And I remember speaking with Nerida Richards. She was wonderful. So Nerida spoke to me on the phone, Dr. Nerida Richards from Feed XL. And we were also looking at, it looked probably, especially, so what Tommy was showing was muscle tremors. So you would see these muscle tremors on his neck and his shoulders. And so Nerida was wonderful. And we were, she spoke to a couple of people, and we once again looking more down the toxin pathway, mycotoxin pathway with their symptoms. And so pumping the toxin binders into them. But poor Tommy, I mean, and I've got videos of all of this, and I'll put everything together for you guys. I'm going to share this whole story when I recover from the trauma of it. But Tommy would just stand there completely zonked out. And it was like just this excessive thirst, and it was horrible to see. And then locked up and on toxin binders and that, he would improve, but he just never, he's been one of the worst. Now, what was even more horrifying, so then this whole time they started coming in with all these lumps all over their faces, like facial swellings, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And I've got photos and videos of it and everything, and it was all a bit of a mystery. Now, what I did is once again reach out to equine nutritionists. Now, I love the equine industry, is so supportive. Everyone is just so wonderful. And I'm going to get teary here. I've been so stressed. It's been such a journey, and I'll do anything for my horses, anything. But it's just, I'm physically, financially, and emotionally exhausted now. It's July 2023. It's been going on for nearly 3 years. But anyway, the lumps started appearing on their faces. And you have to remember, all this time I was trying to ride my horses, you know, and I'm doing the Diploma of Equitation Science. So I've got riding modules to do, and I'm not going to ride my horses when they're not well. Of course not. So stopping and going with my video training and everything. But I then reached out to, then I'm thinking, have they got, because I'm just I'll research everything. I feel like I'm a walking encyclopedia on all this pasture stuff and that, and I'm sure I'm only touching the sides. But I reached out to Conky's Own, because I was thinking maybe I have, sorry for getting upset, guys. Maybe I have big head bone, loss, because, facial swellings. And so I rang Conky's Own and Philippa, Dr. John Conky's daughter. She's amazing. She's wonderful. I said, everyone's just so wonderful. And she's been so helpful, and they sent me out complimentary supplements, and I got my horses on the Cal Extra, heap of Cal Extra, and the Cell Vital, and I've used Conky's own products for years beforehand, and they've always been fantastic. I've never had any. I used to use Cell Vital all the time. It was just coming out here where I am, nothing seems to work. But I was on the Cal Extra giving them calcium supplements, and it wasn't really making much of a difference. I was thinking, I'm thinking maybe it was helping just a bit. Like Tommy, it might have helped him a bit. So I'm not going to, excuse me for the hiccups. I'm not going to say it didn't work. I just felt like that with the amount of calcium supplements I was giving them, and the Cell Vital, and oh God, what else was I giving them? The toxin binders and everything. It just was like, whether it was just putting a Band-Aid, like it was just not really, I didn't feel like it was getting in deep. And I thought, I've gone through nearly a year of calcium supplements, and the lumps, I thought Tommy's may have gone down a little bit, but their facial swellings, they weren't eating dirt or chewing wood or anything like that, that's for sure. But they were coming in with these bizarre neurological symptoms, and like Tommy just hanging over the water bowl and things like that, his water bucket, and being zonked out. But I think the Cal Extra has helped a bit, but it was, I just financially, I couldn't keep going with that. I thought, it doesn't, normally you can, once they've dosed up, you can cut down, and when I cut down, I just didn't seem to think that it was getting to the root cause. And like Philippa said, and like nearly everyone said, there's something causing this problem. And so what I thought I'd do is then and because with the past I've had a lot of conflicting information, like we all do, I'm like you guys, you learn as you go. Where do you go from here? I just thought grass was grass. Seriously, until I moved out here, I just thought, I came out here with all this grass and thought, yay, this is wonderful, I've got grass. And now I just think, what a nightmare. But I just really thought grass was grass. I didn't realize, I hadn't even heard of mycotoxins. Seriously. So what a learning curve. Wow, how much I've learned. And then I was just getting very disheartened, and I got onto the Calm Healthy Horses website. Jenny Patterson from Calm Healthy Horses, amazing, wonderful, once again, wonderful, helpful person, and Jenny's been amazing. So I've just continued. I'll go back. So Tommy started, I got their teeth done, and Tommy's literally lost. Tommy's my big chestnut, who was one of the ones, he's suffered the worst. So he's got swelling on his skull. He's lost all his upper incisors. I was like, why has my horse lost his teeth? And my vet said there is a disease. I had a client's horse a few years ago who had a dental, it was a disease where, and it's got a long name and I can't remember it at the moment, but the body reabsorbs the tooth, the calcium from the tooth. And so my vet sort of said that, look, he most likely will have that, though in saying that, that's usually the molars that are affected, not the incisors. So I was just thinking, I don't think this is right. Me being my analytical detective mind, I was just thinking, I'm not sure, he could have, but I had the pasture. Now this year, this is going on to 2023 now, so just non-stop, ongoing, spending thousands on supplements. Thousands. It just completely like a bottomless pit of just like, oh my God. And then I thought this year, you know what, I'm just going to get, Jenny was amazing. So Jenny, so Snippy started, so as I said, all my horses would show different symptoms at different times, and Snippy started head flicking. This is sort of going into this year. I had all these symptoms go through different horses, different times. Sometimes all the horses would come in with all being zonked out, and Snippy started head flicking, and I reached out to Jenny and said, I did a console on her website, and she said Jenny focuses on pasture, minerals, high mineral levels. Like pastures can get very high in potassium, particularly I'm just going to turn this little heater off here, particularly at certain times of year, the pasture can be very high in potassium. So I've got Phalaris ryegrass here. I've been through, had an agronomist look at all my grasses here. That was along this 3 years, and worked out what grasses I had. Do I have endophytes in the ryegrass? what type of ryegrass it is. And so I was thinking, okay, well, maybe there's high potassium. So Snippy came in, couldn't walk, he tied up, and I've got videos on that. He was once again hanging over his water bowl, completely like he was just dehydrated, head flicking, head shaking, and this was this year, so we're getting into the recent ones now. Haven't had any break from any of this since 2021, just trying to work out what is going on and learning in the process, because as I said, this is all new to me. Like I had no idea about any of this. So Jenny had me bring Snippy in, and we got him on calcium magnesium 3-4 times a day. And within 3-4 days, he came good. He was off the pasture, dosed him up with calcium magnesium, and he came good. Then they started losing weight again. Like, some would lose weight, some look okay. I mean, it's just insane. My grey horse this year just dropped a massive amount of weight. They're all wormed with your Equest, your ivermectin at the beginning of winter, the bots, strategy, and then I did another strategy with my grey horse and Tommy, just in case it was sort of like a resistance. No improvement. My grey horse did improve a little bit after the ivermectin this winter, but it was just then I did. So then I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a pasture test. Test the pasture. Is it high? I was thinking their symptoms. I'm thinking maybe I've got cattle. There's cattle and sheep properties around me here, and I'm thinking maybe nitrate. So I was really down the nitrate path. They fertilise around here. I'm thinking through a lot of the floods that we've had and the runoff. Maybe I've got leaching and the pasture is really high in nitrates, and my horses have a nitrate toxicity, some nitrate poisoning. So I thought I'm just going to got the hiccups again. The pasture tested. So this year, not that long ago actually, I had the pasture tested, and I was thinking it's going to come back high nitrates and high potassium and all of that. It came back low nitrates, low potassium, low starch, low sugar. And I was like, oh my God. It came back a bit high in iron and high in manganese. The iron was 669 ppm, and then I started going down maybe they've got iron overload. The iron can get higher than that, but through the research that I've done, high iron is generally not recognised in horses, because the consensus is horses can tolerate high iron levels, and what they don't use, they just excrete out. But me, obviously, knowing that there's something seriously wrong with my horses, I thought, well, maybe they're not excreting it out. So I've gone down the iron rabbit hole and thinking maybe they've got high iron levels. And I was getting so this is just going back here, and I've had my vet out and done, well, I had blood tests done, but I've had my vet out, usually for injuries, but I got my vet out for my grey horse. Oh, no, that's right. Sorry, I got my vet out, and I thought, this is all this year, so I'm losing track. I had the pasture tested. Now, first of all, I thought, you know what? I think I've got big head, and I had everyone saying, you can't have big head. I've sent videos and photos through. I've had equine nutritionists tell me you can't have big head because you're on cool season grasses down near Canberra. Big head you only get with oxalates. And I thought, my horse has lost his teeth, and they've got swollen skulls. So this is even more horrific. Not only were they come in with lumps, but their whole heads just started looking swollen. I mean, seriously, it's like a horror story. It's had me in absolute tears. Then this year started getting reoccurrent colic, losing weight again, just not looking good. I've been on the Cell Vital, and I'm not saying the supplements are the problem. No, I think the supplements, you know, generally they've been really good. All the supplements from the BAM. The BAM got a little bit expensive for me, and so I went over to the Cell Vital when I was doing the Cal Extra. I mean, these guys are wonderful. I love them all. It's just about what was financially affordable for me with the amount of horses that I have, and just doing the best that I can. And then I thought, you know what, I really think that they've got big heads. So I thought I'm just going to get my vet out to x-ray my two worst horses. And so I got two horses x-rayed. One was okay. Even though he has a swollen skull, his x-rays looked okay. But Tommy I had x-rayed and he has full-on big head. So if one of my horses has big head, the whole team of the horses, all 19, are going to be deficient in calcium. So Tommy had no swelling. He had all his teeth before I moved out here. He had no swelling on his head. He's a beautiful big 17-hand off-the-track thoroughbred that I rode track work on up on the Central Coast. And to see him lose his teeth and to have facial swelling has broken my heart. Sorry, I'm going to get upset. And to see him, you know, hanging at just what he's been through, all of them. But anyway, he's got big head, which means that his body has 30% of his skeletal system is deficient. His body has taken out 30% of the calcium from his skeleton. I won't go into the whole thing. It's a big head. But it's heartbreaking, and knowing that if their body, big head, they're going to be sore in their joints. They're going to feel terrible. I mean, if your body is so deficient and it's depleted its skeletal system, 30% of calcium, imagine how they feel. So, and that was being on all the, nearly a year of calcium supplements and everything. So, and this is, I had the x-rays done this year, and I thought, okay, I've got big head. What is causing big head when I'm not even they're not on oxalate pastures? I've been giving calcium supplements. Up until recently, I was giving a heap of lucerne hay, or if you're overseas, it's called alfalfa hay. I was then told against that. This is how it gets so confusing. Like, seriously, your brain just explodes, doesn't it? Like, am I doing the right thing? And so I was told not to give lucerne because it's high in potassium, and just to give oat and chaff, and because I had them on Fibre Protect, and I even had them on, I was getting this Manuka haylage, which is beautiful fermented lucerne chaff. I had a few issues with mold problems with that. So I ended up going back to your normal. I was getting big squares, your big bales of lucerne. So I had them on a lot of lucerne chaff, their Rhodes hay, everything. Trying to had some locked up. I had them go out of an afternoon, evening, and come in of a daytime. Sometimes, it's just got to the stage where I just haven't got the money anymore to just keep doing this. It's just completely emptied me. And so I then was told to stop feeding the lucerne. So I stopped lucerne, got them on oat and chaff, and Rhodes hay, or some low sugar, like oat and hay, that was like an oat and straw hay. And all through this time as well, so over these years, I've had them completely off the pasture, locked up, 24/7 hay. I own about 100 Gutsbuster hay nets. And then, locking them up for weeks and weeks on end. When I had them on a Cal Extra, I had them locked up for about 2 months. I've spent, my bank account just went completely zero, empty. And I wasn't they stopped, they weren't showing the neurological problems. I'm going to say that. They were not showing any neurological problems, and I thought they were improving. But financially, it was just, they started losing a bit of weight, and their facial, like their swelling wasn't going down. So, but then they started, so after 2 months of locking them up, I was told that it would be okay to let them out again. So I started doing that, letting them out of an afternoon, evening, and coming in of a daytime in their yards and that. As I said, it just, nothing seemed to work. It sort of maybe did a little bit surface changes, but nothing, no big changes. And so I thought there's something going on here. It just was, I can't keep doing this with and not have a result. And then people have said, well, there's obviously something wrong here. You've got to get off. And yeah, I do. There's something wrong here. What is it? But how do I know? Is it the property? Do my horses, I had blood tests. So what my horses lost weight and it came back with high liver enzymes. Your liver enzymes that were elevated, that was Marlin. But everything else, I didn't have heavy metal. Well, now I'm thinking heavy metals, but we'll talk about that in a moment. My dogs are going to bark here. Come on, guys, because someone's opened the door. Come on, no barkies, no barkies. And I'll just wait. The door's making a noise next door. So where am I up to? Oh, having a mental blank. Need a sip of coffee. That's right. X-rayed them. Big head. Okay, so I know that my horses have big head. Well, Tommy has big head. So I only got 2 horses X-rayed, 2 of my worst horses. I would absolutely say that others have big head as well, because I've got another horse that has a lot. I had one horse fracture his skull, like just out of nowhere. I came in for lunch and came out, a storm hit, so he's like hit his head and his whole skull's fractured. Poor Mandy has lumps. So there's, big head in my herd, that's for sure, and confirmed from x-rays. And then I thought, so I'm going to get the pasture tested, because I'm thinking nitrates, and like nitrates and so many things can cause calcium deficiency. So as I said, the pasture results came back low nitrates, low potassium, all of this, and I thought, well, that's crazy. Then I went down, but it had some high iron, so I went down the iron. I'm thinking, well, iron, if they have an iron overload, iron will build up in the tissues, the organs in the tissues, like other heavy metals. Iron will build up in the tissues. So because it's same with blood for calcium, their blood test will come back, their calcium levels are okay and their iron levels are okay, because deficient calcium, so the body will take calcium out of the bones to keep the blood calcium levels normal, because the calcium is needed for your heart and your organs to keep going. So that's why you can't tell low calcium levels from blood, as far as I know generally. And also iron. So excess iron will go and lodge itself into the liver and organs and things like that. And if you Google, well, since I went down here, but if you read up Dr. Eleanor Kellen, she talks about excess iron, and that a lot of autopsies done on horses. So many horses, and in fact, I think she says nearly all of them, have black livers from excess iron. Now, we have a high iron soils in Australia, and I'm in Australia. So I went down, looked at that, and I thought maybe my horses have a high iron. And because the pasture wasn't showing anything else. And then now I'm thinking, I've been talking a lot here, so thinking where I'm up to. And then that's right, that's what happened. So then all of a sudden, one of my horses, Marlin, oh my God, he got so sick. Oh, well, then Marlin he just dropped weight like rapidly. Within like 2 weeks, he went from fat and healthy to even less than 2 weeks to just like a skeleton. I was like, oh my God. Then his face looked swollen, like literally, and his coat was all sort of like orange, and I'm like, oh my God, like I was shocked. I could not believe, non-stop colicking. Then even though I'd wormed them, so I did the ivermectin, the early winter, your ivermectin, and that normally kills pinworms. So then I locked Marlin up. So I had Marlin locked up. Nellie came in, so my Nellie, then I thought, I'm thinking maybe I'm so all over the place here, but I thought maybe it's in the dam water. So I thought they're safer on the bore water. So I locked them off the bottom pasture over an evening and put them on the top pasture, off the dam water. Nellie came in, couldn't walk straight. Staggers. Now I've got to think that. So I'll link the video of some of the symptoms in my horses at the end of this video. But Nellie came in with staggers. She couldn't walk straight. I was like, oh my God. And that was when I had them locked off the dam water. And I've sectioned off down the bottom. I've put tape around electric fencing so that they can't get on the dam. So I'm keeping them off the dam water. Still coming in horrific symptoms. Marlon just dropped so much weight, and that was it. I was just like, there is something seriously wrong. He got a pinworm. He had pinworm eggs all around his anus, even though I'd wormed them. Pinworm, and then I've gone down the whole... Oh, okay. The worming. So you don't hear a lot about it in Australia, I don't think, but the 5-day panicure. Worming. So what I've done is, because Marlon Marlon's been locked up with Mandy and Nell, but Marlon's been locked up for months now, off the pasture completely. But I did the 5-day panicure with him because Marlon and my horses kept colicking nearly every time after their feeds. They would show signs of colic. I was like, what is happening here? And then Marlon kept colicking, and then I did the 5-day panicure, and he was colicking through that. I seriously thought he was going to die. I had him on toxin binders. Toxin binder, I had him on bentonite clay, calcium bentonite clay. I've got a really good bentonite clay. I had blood tests on him before. This was before, and his liver enzymes were high. And so I've got him on milk thistle, but everything else sort of come back sort of okay in his blood test. But this was before he dropped a lot of weight, when I was a little bit concerned about him. This wasn't when he just dropped a huge amount of weight. So I've done the pinworm. I did, and he was showing signs of pinworm. So I thought maybe he's got a pinworm infestation. So I did the 5-day panicure, and he did improve after that, though he really colicked really badly. Though he was colicking before. I thought he was going to die. But we did the 5-day panicure, and he did seem to pick up a little bit, not just in his mood. He was pooping out pinworms, so he had pinworm infestation, even though he'd been wormed. They'd all been wormed for it. I'm going to do a whole, because he's separate from the herd, I don't want to do anything at the moment until I get these other tests back, but he hadn't put any weight on, just packing the feed into him. He's on hemp, he's on lupins, he's on Fiber Protect, he's on everything. And he wasn't putting on any weight. So what I don't even know how I think the iron got me onto, I'm thinking. Then I had, God bless you, absolutely, Paula Day. Paula is one of my students and a really good friend now as well. So we do a weekly Zoom in the Off the Track Thoroughbred Success Academy. So Paula kept saying, have you got any mines around your area? And I'm going, no, there's no mines around here. And the next Zoom, have you got any mines around your area? I was like, no. Anyway, I think it was probably the third Zoom, because I never knew of any mines around here. Anyway, Paula said, must have Googled in our Zoom and said, you've got mines. Oh, mines. So, oh my God, this is all recent. So I thought, have we? And there's some old, so the area where I am, which is on the outskirts of Canberra, have old copper, lead, zinc mines around here. They were unregulated, and I thought, oh my God, maybe it's, I just never knew, I didn't know anything about heavy metals, heavy metal toxicity or anything like that in humans, animals, nothing. And I still don't know if it's the cause, but I'm thinking it is. But I'll have a sip of my coffee. I thought, okay, there's been old mines around here, and when I had the pasture, I don't think you can test pasture for heavy metals, but you can test water for heavy metals, but I haven't done that because I have to think, okay, what's my priority now? But thinking, okay, well, if there's old mines around here, maybe there's heavy metals. I'm going down the whole research of heavy metals. And then I found out that there's 2 towns. None of this, because I moved out here. I'm on a lease property here. I don't own the property, so not familiar. I've always been over the other side of Canberra. This is the first time I've been over this side. So, and not not one to research areas, I suppose, unless you have problems like me or you're looking to buy a property. You obviously want to know as much. But I was just looking for land to lease with my horses and me. So then the local town, 20 kilometres away, so there's Captain's Flat and there's Bungendora, and then there's I found out there's a big old mine at Captain's Flat which mined lead, copper, zinc. Now there is problems to this day. If you look and you Google it, it is a horror story. So there is lead contamination and other contaminations around the areas of Captain's Flat. Apparently years ago there was the dam wall. So that mine in particular ran from I won't go into the history of the mine, but just looking, I'm thinking, well, around this area there is old mining history, and some really bad things happened in that the dam walls of the mine collapsed, where they held the acid waste, and it went into the Molonglo River. This was over the years, so the mine was operating in the early 1800s, closed down, and then reopened in the late 1800s all the way through to 1969. Still to this day, there's regulations down as contaminated, high levels of heavy metals, unsafe for human health around that area, around Captain's Flat. Apparently, I didn't know any of this, and around the other local towns. So this is all very new knowledge that has come to me. Now, I thought, okay, Marlon looks so bad. He's so sick. I nearly lost him. Mandy, my poor Mandy, she's been one of the ones that's sort of been normally looking okay, and she started to deteriorate. Funny bony lumps on her face, very zonked out. And then I found her lying down a lot. Then so I locked her up with Marlon. They're in a dry lot. She busted through in the middle of the night. She busted through the electric fencing. She's really naughty for being a bit of a Houdini and getting out of the electric fencing. I didn't close the gate at the bottom, so she got out with the other horses at the top, because I just financially can't afford to have them all locked up at the moment. I really need to. I bring them in over daytime. I've got my worst in, and I just have to find out what's happening, because obviously if there's, I just got to find out what's happening. So I'm doing the best that I can do at the moment, because it's depleted me completely. But Mandy got out, and then when I came out in the morning and realised she got out, I looked up on the hill where the horses were, and I thought, I can see legs sort of flaying, and I thought, oh my God, is that a horse down? So I ran up there, and there was Mandy was down, and she couldn't get up. She could not get up, and eventually, she got up within the first, probably took her a minute. She was trying to get up, but she was staggering. She got up and she couldn't stand straight. So she had what seemed like staggers. Interestingly, I brought her down. Well, they all came down. I went back and got them all down, but I brought her down and she came good. So cutting a long story, this is not cutting a long story short, because this is a long story, but I've got them on. So thinking that there's some type of toxicity. I got them on a zeolite product. So I did researching. They're on milk thistle. Marlin's on milk thistle, and they've got them all on a zeolite product. And I'm going to have to say that Marlin has absolutely improved significantly. He's been on the zeolite product since the 29th of the 6th. Mandy's on it, and she's locked up. So she had staggers from getting out, even though she was locked up for about a month. She got out one night and got staggers overnight. I don't know what time she got out in the middle of the night, but it's just a nightmare. I'm just trying to think where I'm up to now. Well, so I'm just basically, this is a long story, I know, guys. So I just wanted to say that where I'm up to, July 2023, Marlon is improved. He's locked up. So what I've done is to try and get to the root cause of this whole mystery, because moving 19 horses, finding somewhere for myself, 6 dogs and 19 horses to move to is not something you can do overnight. I'm obviously, my lease finishes in February next year, beginning of February next year, so I need to relocate anyway. But I have to get to the root cause of what's happening with my horses, because I can't fix it if I don't know what's causing it. I don't know what's happening in their system. So I made the decision after realizing how, thinking maybe there could be a possibility of heavy metal toxicity. You get a soil, you get your soil tested, but I don't own this property. So I think the best thing for me is to get hair tissue mineral analysis tests done on my horses. So I picked 2 of my worst horses. It's quite expensive to do, but it's worth it. I've gone through a very reputable person here in Australia, and the hair sample is sent over to the US to a government accredited lab over in the US, and then it gets sent back. Kerry Marsh from HTMA, Hair Tissue Mineral Analysis, is doing this for me. And I'm thinking, because Marlon has showed so much improvement on the Zeolite product, I thought there's some type of toxin. So the hair tissue mineral analysis seemed the best way to go, because a lot of heavy metals won't show up in bloods unless it's acute. Your heavy metal toxicity, if it is this, will go into the bones and the organs, because it will kill you if it stays in the blood. So the hair tissue mineral analysis seemed the best way to go. So I wanted to update everybody on why I have been absent on social media. My goal was to have all my retraining, off the track thoroughbred retraining videos up on my YouTube channel, in my groups, and having all my online courses, my second online course built. And it's just been such, and instead I've had nearly 3 years of this horror of battling health problems with my horses. And I wanted to let everybody know what's happening and why I haven't been visible or consistent with uploading content, and to really just tell you where I'm at and why, it's all a learning journey. I wanted to have all these retraining videos up, and instead I've been battling a huge amount of health issues, so I haven't even been able to work my horses most of the time. Sometimes, like Nina's been, I've got some videos of Nina, but it's been very inconsistent. So this is where I'm at. But, I think mentioning this, at the moment here in Australia, there's some horses are dying suddenly down in Victoria. So it's, and it's interesting seeing when this has been on the news and that, and obviously it's really, really concerning, mysterious deaths. You have people reaching out saying, well, I've had problems with my horse and I lost 2 horses. So I think health issues with horses and horses getting colic and horses showing strange symptoms, a lot of horse owners go through it, but it's mysterious what's happening and you don't know why it's happening. And so it goes unnoticed. It doesn't get spoken out on social media because it's like, well, I don't know what's happened to my horse. Me having, being an off-the-track thoroughbred retrainer, having a social media presence, I have the opportunity to speak out and share, and it gives the opportunity, like what's happening in Victoria here at the moment in Australia, for people to speak out and say, well, I've had these similar symptoms. At head shaking, for instance. Head shaking is just horrible. I've had so many issues with head shaking. Tommy's head shaked, Snippy's head shaked. And it's severe pain that goes through the horse's face. I have at the moment, people I'm speaking with overseas and in Australia that have reached out to me once seeing my videos. And I've had someone that had her horse put down because she couldn't solve the problems of head shaking. And I think me speaking out about where I am with my horses gives the opportunity for everyone else to speak out, share my story, because I think a lot of things go unnoticed. A lot of issues with horses can be toxin related or obviously nutrition related. I'm very big on equine nutrition and how certain feeds, particularly wheat and grains and that, affect horses. This is going even a step further where you've got maybe toxin related problems. Do I have heavy metal toxicity? I don't know. So I will know. The tests were sent away 3 weeks ago this Friday, and they'll be back. I know one's back already. Tommy is back from the lab and it's already been sent to Kerry to analyse. I know she's away, but I will have the results for Tommy back. within the next few days, or probably Monday, Tuesday at the latest. So I will definitely update you guys on the results from the hair tissue mineral analysis. So the hair tissue mineral analysis will pick up any heavy metal poisoning, toxicity. It's going to pick up so much mineral deficiencies, the whole nutrient health. I'll share more about it. It's quite new to me. I haven't gone in depth other than getting 2 of them done, but I will share my results with you. There's some people speak down hair tissue mineral analysis, but there's so much evidence to, it's really the only way that you can test for heavy metals other than bone biopsies or liver biopsies. And you're not going to do that to a horse or even a human. Get your hair tested. It's very hair tissue mineral analysis, as long as it goes through accredited labs and through good practitioners. Sounds like the way to go, and I've definitely chosen that way. My priority is my horse's health and to getting them back on track and knowing what's happened, because when I know what's wrong with them, I can heal them. Obviously, Tommy's never going to get his teeth back, his upper teeth back. I don't know if the facial swellings are going to go down. I'll know more, but I wanted to update you and let you know why I haven't been consistent with uploads on social media, and I've been a bit absent in my Facebook group, and I'm really sorry, guys. And where I'm at, and my goal is still to get through this, to find out the problem with my beautiful horses, and getting them back into full health. So on a rehabilitation program, once I know exactly what's happening, obviously relocating, whether it's this property or not, I have to relocate anyway. And then getting back to my original goal of retraining, the filming the retraining process and the training of all my beautiful horses, whether some of them are competed. I've been out competing, show jumping and dressage with them, my older horses like Sam and Tommy and Dragon. Others have come straight out of racing and have been spelling. Because of all the issues that I've had, they would have normally been in retraining by now, but because of the health issues that I've gone through the last 2 or so years, it's been a setback. So there's horses that I have come straight out of racing that haven't been retrained, and I'm going to film the whole process of every horse. My goal is to have an individual portfolio for them, and you'll be able to watch every single horse's retraining. A lot of it will be free on my YouTube channel. I'm also going to have paid. I've got already paid online courses, but there'll be a full paid online course, as well as lots of free content, and you'll see portfolios. My goal is to have a portfolio of each individual horse, so Nina, Dragon, Billy, Marlin, everything, and starting from day one all through their in-hand work, all the way up to their under-saddle work and out competing and everything. Obviously, this is going to be years, and we have to get through all this health, and you'll watch their rehabilitation as well. Whatever I'm dealing with, whether it's heavy metals, whether it's not heavy metals, whether it's something else, we'll know soon. And then I will share my journey with you through the whole rehabilitation and back on track, so that I can film the retraining process for you. If you don't know me, I am an off-the-track thoroughbred retrainer. I specialise in retraining horses using equitation science principles, compassionate training, promoting the welfare of horses. I'm all for the welfare of the horses. I use equitation science principles. I love body work. I am, all for the priority of the horse's welfare, number one. And I'll go into more of that as we get back on track with the health issues. I have a holistic approach, so I approach retraining the off-the-track thoroughbred holistically, looking at everything. Their health, which is obviously a big issue for me at the moment, their health, their mental, emotional and physical health, and then taking you down. So rehabilitating them from the demanding racing industry, where they often suffer a lot of gut health issues and emotional, very unclear training. So a lot of retraining goes into going back and retraining the basic responses because of the conflicting aids and the pressure that happens. A lot of conflicting aids and unclear training is given in racing, in a lot of disciplines. But I approach it holistically, so physically, emotionally, and well, mentally, you're looking at your retraining, aren't you? So the retraining approach, so the horse has a clear understanding of the training and your training aids. But I won't go into too much of that now. I just wanted to share this video, let you know where I am, why I haven't been present, and my future goals. And we will be get back on track, and you'll have all these beautiful portfolios of all my beautiful horses. And you can follow their retraining journey and their rehabilitation journey. I'll link the video that I've got I think I did take, there's a video on here where I take you through and introduce you to my horses. So that's on the YouTube channel here somewhere. I'll link that in up here. I think it's up here. And I'll link the previous video where I share some of the symptoms that I've been going through. Thank you so much for all your support, everybody. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you've had any issues with your horses or any of this rings true. I will absolutely get back to you next week with another video and update you on the results from the hair tissue mineral analysis. So I've had hair tissue mineral analysis done for Tommy. So Tommy's, my beautiful big chestnut, that came back with big head and has lost his upper incisors, and also Marlin. So I was told to get my 2 worst horses done. Hard to pick the worst, but poor Marlin. Marlin, so Tommy's interesting. So I've got 2. Tommy, I've had Tommy's 17 and Marlin's only 8. Marlin comes straight out of racing to this property here where I am. So I've got 2 really good different horses. So I will share the results of the hair tissue mineral analysis with you, and then we'll just go moving forward from there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.